Hey Rob, what's up?
Hey man,
How are you?
well I'm very good. It's a bit hot at the moment here in Holland, which is a bit unusual, but no, I can't complain. We're in the midst of building a new studio, which is
Okay.
really exciting. Hence, I'm sitting at home at the dinner table where my internet is nice, and I just came off my honeymoon, which was amazing, and yeah, ready to work. Hence also the tan.
Yeah, exactly. And you also went to the E3 conference, right?
True, we are a fan of games. Me especially, I'm a big fan of the Destiny game, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a good contact with all the guys at Destiny, for which we also did a track, a game-inspired track
Really?
called Destiny as well. And yeah, we used this footage in the video that really looked awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and every year we go to the E3, see what's cool. I love all the art design. It's a really creative world, and I always come back with these ideas because it's a different world than music, but
Mm-hmm.
creativity is still creativity.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that correct, creativity. And no, and then I always get these ideas for us, whether it will be music wise or more art design wise or something. Yeah, I think seeing others being creative really
Yeah.
does something with you as well. And
Yeah, like you said, it's a different environment, it's a different world, it's
yeah,
different people. But is it something that you aspire to do in the future as well? Like, so maybe do more game music or.
well, no, I think that's really hard to do, and it's a different beast than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be awesome to do, but yeah, you shouldn't fool yourself in thinking you might be able to do that real quickly. It's
Yeah.
just like we did with our career. It's hard to do something on a professional level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that takes a lot of time. So I'm not sure if I can make a switch with all the stuff and the workflows I have towards a gaming or movie
Yeah.
oriented. Although Junkie XL did it, so it's not impossible. But it also took him a lot of time. So yeah, you got to ask yourself: do you really want that? Invest another 5 to 6 years? Yeah, although the outcome might be really cool, yeah, you shouldn't fool yourself. It's again a lot of hard work, and
Yeah.
it might all be for nothing.
And
So
you only have one focus, so it's either one
yeah,
or the other, but it's not both.
definitely, yeah.
So, like you mentioned, you've been with Bassjackers like 5 to 6 years.
No, no, 11 already.
Oh, 11. Holy shit! Is
Yeah.
it 11? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Let's
Well,
go.
it's
Let's go
right
back in
about the
time.
time we met you as well.
Yeah.
I think we have a mutual friend, Upster,
Mm-hmm.
and he introduced you to us.
Yep.
And that has already been 11 to 12 years, actually, around the time of Kelder Club. In,
Was that the time that Marlon had his studio in that basement with his student house, or?
yeah, that was around that time.
Huh.
Yeah, that in the basement where no daylight ever came, and we all got really depressed. That
Yeah.
wasn't the best,
And he had
best.
his bed on in the studio, and then, yeah, at
It was
all
a weird
one.
situation. Yeah, we have a much better situation right now. But yeah, it was around that time. It's been 11 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always known Marlon from the middle school,
Okay.
high school. I don't know how you call it.
Yeah.
I think we were around the age of 13, 14, and we got to know each other back then. And at a later point, he started. I always worked on music. I got my hands on Fast Tracker illegally somewhere, and I thought, wow, it's
Fast tracker.
fascinating. Yeah, that's even before FL Studio or Fruity Loops
Oh.
was a thing.
Okay.
And I just messed around with sounds, and I thought it was fascinating. You could make music on your computer that could actually move people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's weird, you know.
So how
And
was it at that time? Like, did you work with samples? Were they available to download, or how
no,
did that
yeah, you
work?
all had to cut them from a CD. and you couldn't filter or whatever. It was just sounds, and you could just do volume envelopes, and that was it actually, and play with tempo, of course. The sequencer also went from top to bottom, which was weird. And you saw all these. It was MS-DOS, so you saw all these lines coming in front of you. And if we and these bigger studios who used the real tools, they could actually filter. So what I sometimes did when they had I sampled all the filtered sounds, and I just put them. I just sequenced them on another way, so it looked like I could filter my sounds. But I was, I think, 14, 15 at the time. I made hardstyle, and I sent it to Piet or something.
Really?
And then
what was your artist name at that time?
I actually don't know.
You didn't have one?
No, I don't think so.
DJ Ralph.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, or some dangerous name, DJ Warhound or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't a DJ at all. I didn't even know how to mix. And I sent a CD with a letter to Robert Piet, and then with my phone number. And then at some point, my mother said, "I have this Robert Piet on the phone." And he was like, and then he heard my voice. He said, "How old are you?" And then I told him. He said, "Wow, you're way too young." And that's.
But I can imagine that at that time it wasn't like nowadays. A lot of people make music, It's like almost common that you have Fruity Loops on your laptop. But at that time, I must think that you were one of the few people in the Netherlands who made music.
Yeah, I was a big nerd. Yeah. And I think also, I mean. I always had a good environment at home, and my mom and dad worked a lot, and my dad used the computer for work. I don't think so that computers weren't really a basic principle in every household back then, but we had one, and then you're gonna start this discovery,
Yeah.
I always liked music a lot, although I was more rock. When my first jobs I had doing in newspapers and all the stuff, or working at an egg factory. You had to sort the eggs. And what I did with the money was I bought a lot of a Guns N' Roses CD. I even bought a mixtape by Pearl Jam. I love rock a lot. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Those were the CDs I bought with my first earned money.
And did you sample those kind of tracks for your own music to make? Or?
No, actually, I got into music production when the hardstyle scene was a thing. Okay. And I actually think I was 15 at the time, because I went to some of the raves illegally. I wasn't 16, so...
That's about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, we actually don't talk about our age ever. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a secret.
Yeah, so I was about 8.
Yeah, exactly. Very young producer.
Yeah.
And with Marlon, you both went to because you knew him from middle school or high school, and then you both studied university as well. Yeah,
and that's when Marlon started DJing, and that's when the idea came. I mean, he knew he had to have music to play gigs, and that's when we decided, hey, let's give it a try, I already had some releases under my belt, more in the kind of James Holden area, bought a community wannabe labels. Never bought a community. I love that label, by the way. But then I started making the more commercial EDM. It wasn't Big Room at the time.
Dutch house.
And if you listen to it, it's real tech house actually. But it was called Dutch house, and when the bleeps came, and we just tried it, and at some point this track actually got picked up by Fedde, also a Tilburg resident, where we are all from, you as well.
Fedde Legrand, right?
Yes, and he put it in his top 10, and Fedde was so big at the time. I mean, he just came off Put Your Hands Up for Detroit. Then everybody was watching his top 10s, and they saw Bassjackers Beat Cut standing in there, and everybody was like, who the F are those guys, And that's when it all started. And Yeah, and it actually went really quickly with Marlon, and he explained to me what kind of sounds were a bit cool. Mm-hmm. And with those sounds, I got to think about, hey, and might this be something? Yeah, and then we both sculpted this sound, which actually had a bit of a jacking sound, which was cool at the time, you know, with Switch and Sinden and the Count. And yeah, so we Marlon at some point said, let's call ourselves Bassjackers, and because we're actually jacking the bass, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, henceforth we are Bassjackers since I think April 2007.
Wow. I always thought of you guys, like you mentioned, we've met almost 10 years ago or whatever. And I was doing music and Upser was doing music at that time, but I really felt like I was this kid and I had no idea what I was doing. And somehow I always had the feeling that you guys were a lot smarter than I was at that time.
You did? Yeah.
No, but you always had some kind of strategic plan or thought about something that you were doing.
Yeah, well, I think we were commercially thinking was something that comes naturally to us.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're a bit lucky with that actually, because we actually got Jorn Heringa of Spinnin was one of the first people we had on the phone.
That's the label manager, right?
Jorn is, yeah, he's the A&R manager at Spinnin.
Yeah.
Still is.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually told us, I mean, in 2007, hey, you guys want to release Beat Cut on Spinnin, or we have this new label called Sneakers Music. And we actually didn't even know what Spinnin was at the time. But we were like, no, we want Sneakers Music because we knew the parties, you know.
Yeah.
And that was also a good decision because you get associated with the sneakers brand, which was really big at the time in Holland. And from that point, we actually got into Nope is Dope, which was a big party concept as well. Mm-hmm. And I think those kind of decisions really worked well for us because we actually were in the sneakers camp, mm-hmm. and we were in the Nope is Dope camp, which were each other's biggest competitors.
I think that's the thing that I was talking about, like the way of thinking commercial and making money out of music. So translating your music into making money in what way possible. Yeah. That's something I've always been struggling with, at least in the beginning. Afterwards, it became easier to me. But in the beginning, I really didn't know how to make money from music.
I actually get that because being creative and artistic mm-hmm. Kind of is... not per se in coherence or something with making money. But on the other hand, if you don't make the money, you cannot do what you love, you know. You need money. You need to eat and live and drive a car. So yeah, we weren't too hesitant to just to know we had to compromise.
Yeah.
And that was always never a big thing for us. And we knew the further we could come, the more we could really put our own ideas out there. Because the bigger you get, the more freedom you get. Yeah. And that freedom was always our goal. Not per se the money, mm-hmm. that was just a means, but the freedom, you know. Yeah. And for that, you sometimes had to compromise, and that's commercially just a good thing. And I think that, like I said before, that's something Marlon and me comes quite naturally. And that just, I think that's a bit of luck. I mean, you don't have that or you do, you know?
Yeah. And do you remember one of the first times that you guys had to make such a decision where you could go left, which was a commercial decision, and go right to staying close to whatever you wanted to do and not make money?
Well, I think the first time was actually... oh, you remember the track Klambu?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we actually, I think you and Oppie had a track called Klambu.
No, we had one with the three of us.
Okay, and that was called Klambu then?
Yeah, but it never got released. Maybe I even still have it somewhere somehow, but I knew I think it was with Kenneth as well.
Yeah, Kenneth. Yeah. Well, then they asked of us to do a remix in that style, and that's when we didn't kind of feel like it to do that. But I mean, that was the first time we really recycled sounds, and that for us was a thing like, ooh, artistically we rather take a different approach to it, but yeah, commercially it would be good to go on the same. I mean, it was quite a success, and then it makes sense to do it again, you know.
And why
that was the first one.
And why do you think it's commercially wise to reuse the sounds again?
Well, there's always this thing to give the people what they want. And I mean, we're all like that. After I saw Die Hard 1, I wanted to see another Die Hard, rather just like it, you know?
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't be like it, you would be just disappointed. But at the same time, you're also a bit disappointed that it's the same as the Die Hard 1. It's weird how it works. And it's really hard to make it to keep the signature in there, and that actually came later when we got a signature sound which you could use in a bit of different kind of structures. That's the process you make, you go through, and that's also always those decisions.
And when did you find out about your own sound? When did you knew, okay, this is the Bassjacker signature?
Yeah, that actually just came in, I think, 2014. So
that's pretty recent.
But I think that's a strong year for us also. I mean, before we always had this energy in it, you know, and big build-ups and cool drops. And we always make music to play music, you know. It was actually, we thought about how should Marlon's live set look like. And what do we miss in other tracks? What do we miss in the set? Let's make that ourselves.
Okay.
And so it always had this kind of signature of it being energetic and bass-driven, but it was always a bit different, you know. And until, I mean, we had Mush Mush, which was a big track in 2011, but I cannot say it was sound-wise real signature. I mean, there was a standalone track, but energy-wise, it had that Bassjackers feel. But when it came to 2014, at some point with Savior, Like That, Rampage, Wave Your Hands, some of the remixes, and that's when some of those tracks they sound alike, but some of them they don't sound alike, but they all contain that same signature sounds in there.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good period for us, because then we could really bring a lot of the sound. You could immediately hear that's Bassjackers.
And what is that? Like, is it the sound design? Is it the balance of dynamics in the track? Is it the energy? Is it the mixing? What's the aspect to you when you say
that's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's the use of sounds. Like you always have this layer of using the same sounds, making them sound different. So that goes in the mixing. But it's like every track, all those tracks, they have this same underbelly, the same lows. One of the layers of all the synths is the same one, which has this fullness to it. So I must say it's definitely sound, and the way the sound goes. It also always has these little hubs, and like that goes, and that's actually that. Those repetitions, they always come in the track. That gives it some recognizability.
So it's somehow it's a combination of all those little things combined into the whole track. And
definitely. I
actually think it's the same thing as in as a producer, all the choices you make along the process. So even when it's just putting the fader up for 0.2 dB, all those little decisions come to one whole, which is the track. So
that's true.
I think all your decisions will be your sound eventually.
Yeah, definitely, and it all works together. You can't pinpoint one thing, and that's also the hard thing, because then you get stuck in this mindset of making music. At some point, you got to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when the hard part comes.
Did you already experience a moment like that where you had to,
I think 2012 wasn't a good year for me.
Somehow a creative block, or?
Yeah, because we just had our international breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff comes at you then. I mean, all of a sudden there were managers wanting things of you. Mm-hmm. We had a booker back then who didn't agree with our path to success. So that gave some. We actually got into some lawyer stuff right there, and then you did this creativity wise. Mm-hmm. So you want to do this, but yeah. It's always hard work to get better than your last record. Mm-hmm. And all that kind of things. It's weird because you actually are doing good, but that also gives this pressure, which you also put on yourself, and which makes it hard. And for me in the studio with everything going on, I think you mind-wise you have to be at a good place mm-hmm. to continuously keep on making good music.
And how did you manage to do that? Like staying in that mindset and, well, actually don't give a shit about all the other people's opinions?
Yeah, well, it's getting to know your own boundaries. I mean, we're no Terminators, you know. We have our limitations, and it's about recognizing them and seeing where you can fill up the gaps you have yourself or as a duo. Mm-hmm. And so we did. So, I mean, that's at that point, I think management becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And it's really important.
Because they give some kind of steering or?
Well, no, you can think about the things you don't want to do or you're not good at mm-hmm. and get somebody who can do that for you. I mean, there's a million different types of managers. The ones who are creative, the ones who are more for inventories, like gathering information and redistribute it. And I mean, you can name them all. For yourself, if you're not good at making cool art design, get yourself a creative manager. If you're not good at making sure all the advancing is done for your bookings, get yourself somebody who can do it for you now. But yeah, first you got to know yourself in order to get a manager. I think that's always so. A lot of people think I need a manager to get me there. No, that's not true. You need a manager to fill up the gaps, the things you cannot do yourself.
Yeah. So actually strengthen your weaknesses.
Definitely, yeah. Because in the end, we all have our weaknesses.
Yeah. But I think self-awareness is really important as an artist, just to know where your strong points are. And I think you guys have always nailed it down pretty quick, as in, Marlon was good in playing and DJing and touring and all the things he likes to do. And you were the guy on the background. So talking a bit more about that, because I think that's the most interesting thing about your business model as Bassjackers. You actually made the decision, at least I think you guys ever made the decision, to consciously say, okay, I will be the producer and I will make the music, and Marlon will be the DJ and he will go out and play.
Yes.
When did that when did that moment came, and do you still remember when you made that choice?
Yeah, it was booking number 2.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable behind the decks.
Okay.
I think a DJ should be able to always bring that positive energy. Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter if you have the most grumpy persons in front of you, hey, be the party goer you want to see, give the lead by example.
Yeah.
And that's just not me. So
it's the self-awareness again.
Pardon?
It's the self-awareness again.
Yeah, definitely. And Marlon did have that and still does, Marlon is really good at that. If I look at Marlon on stage, I see a real DJ and who enjoys it. He thinks about the set, and I would just be in the way. So I said, not for me. I don't think I would be good at traveling as well. Traveling really has to suit you. Marlon is made for it. I mean, he's a small guy. He can sleep really well. And if you can't, it's going to be hard, because not everybody can sleep on a plane.
True.
I mean, I've been on the bus tour. I couldn't sleep on the bus. I stepped off and I said, hey, bye-bye, I'll see you later. I'm going to get myself a motel. And that's also, it comes down to knowing your limitations. And I mean, everybody has to do stuff they don't like to do. That's part of work. But if that the stuff you don't like becomes too big of part, it's just going to eat you away. And so I said to myself, I'm not going to be a DJ. If I look at the big festivals, that looks amazing. I mean, everybody would like to do that. It's these 40,000 people before you, all jumping simultaneously on the beat. You put your hands up, and I mean, that must give a great feeling. But it also is, DJing is also being in a club where some of the people don't know you, might boo you just to make fun of you. And I mean, it's a vulnerable spot. You need to be comfortable. And if you're not always, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. So you consciously made the decision after the second booking, like, I'm not going to do this for another time?
No. During the second booking, I was behind the decks for 5 minutes. That's not me. No. And to be honest, I always liked making music. I'm not a DJ, and I mean, Marlon got into this as a DJ. I got into this as a music producer. Two totally different things, which ask for totally different competences. And that's why I don't think every producer behind the decks looks cool. I can be honest about that. Some of the DJs who can produce, it just looks more naturally. And
are you guys still involved with each other's parts? So let's say
definitely, I think all the talks we have about it. I mean, also the sets. Sometimes Marlon plays something like, "Dude, what the f are you now?" I dislike that track a lot, and then we're gonna talk. Oh, maybe that track would be better for there. Oh, hey, maybe we can make something ourselves, and that's when the talks come in. But on the other end, Marlon is really important for the productions as well, because I mean, I make something, and then he knows what points wouldn't or would work. I mean, he's a real DJ. He loves effectiveness of the tracks, and as a musician, you just want to have this natural, how do you say it?
Storyline.
Storyline. But for effectiveness, it's not always the case, So then we're gonna fight about it, and then we get to this unique kind of thing, which makes Bassjackers. I think that's one of those things, which makes us unique.
Okay. No, I just thought it's a really interesting way, and I think it's pretty smart from you guys that you were that you thought about this from the beginning, and not like after 10 years or 5 years of touring.
No, well, that could also be the case. I mean, maybe I would have been the greatest DJ ever. I don't think so, but if you don't try it, you'll never know. So you can't blame someone for trying. No, I'm really comfortable the way I am, and Marlon is the way he is. Plus, it's a nice division of labor, He doesn't have the mental pressure of always delivering the tracks, whereas I don't have the physical pressure of continuously being in a plane or a hotel, making sure I'm in time for the next set. And that division makes it really worthwhile as well, because it's still hard work.
True. Interesting story, and I think it's really valuable to a lot of people who aspire to become a duo or whatever. I just don't think a lot of people think through those things, and they don't really think there's more options than just one,
Yeah, definitely. And you always should think ahead. And I must say, we always thought everything was designed to be successful. We're in this, to win this, Though we're not number one DJ Mag or whatever, but we always said, hey, we should do this and this and this, because when it will take off, we could really benefit from that. We always thought ahead. We always thought, if we're successful, then this and this and this. So we never thought, let's just see it,
Yeah. And that's the thing I meant with, I always thought of you guys, you're always a bit smarter and a bit, thought things a bit more further than I did. Which I think is really smart right now.
I must say, on the other end, it's always a guess, I mean, I'm talking here smart ass right now, but it was always a guess. But yeah, it took out the right way, and that's always just, I mean, it's hard work on the other end and luck on the other. You need the luck as well. It's not up to you, or you don't have it in control.
And how far, or how much did your networking skills helped you in your career, like knowing the people you needed to know, knowing the people you wanted to know? How important was that to you? If you have to put it into a 100% full scale of your career, how much percent was the networking part?
Well, I mean, there's so many parts. Everybody thinks about making music. It's the most important and the biggest part, but it's not the only part. It's not even half, I think. I mean, you have all these responsibilities you have, and networking that's a big one as well. Not only for getting your tracks released, but also for the parties. You got to get to know the promoters. You got to get to know your fans, and I think that networking. Let's give Much Much as an example. We got into contact with Tiesto through the music, I must add, because he liked a track of ours. And then you got to maintain that relationship. So when you have something, you are able to send it to Thijs. And he said to us, because we had that contact and we maintained it, we could send it to Thijs, and he said, dudes, I love it. And he has a big part in our success, because we were the third release on Musical Freedom. Musical Freedom was just brand new. And I think, if you don't maintain those relationships, you're going to have a hard time. I mean, if you're going to be on an island, so if I must give a percentage, it might be 25%.
Yeah, that's pretty
much. It's a big deal if you give music 40%.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so great story. Thanks. I just want to close off with one question. And you've had about 30 minutes to think about it. So
but I was talking so much, so I didn't think about it.
What was the best the best investment which you've done in the last month for maximum €100?
In the last month, I must say it's going to be different. I think what I always like, and there's a few examples. Like I said, I just came off my honeymoon, and we had a few moments which gave us real pleasure. And I'll tell you first the one which made us the most happy. We rented a boat, and we were on Lake Powell, and it was 45 degrees Celsius, which is like 100, 110 Fahrenheit. And we did it. We were with the two of us, me and my wife, and we didn't. We bought beer, but it was root beer, which just is awful stuff. So we didn't have beers, and our drinks weren't cold. So we got to this beach, and we parked the boat. And I'm not saying it right, but whatever. And my wife walked up to a boat next to us, which was a big boat, and asked if we could buy a beer. But they gave it to us. And my God, that beer tasted like a million beers. I mean, it was hot, and it was really cool. And I think it's the kindness of others which is the most valuable, because those two beers, I mean, those were the best. or when we came to the hotels and they knew we were on our honeymoon, and at the right moment they came with a nice glass of champagne, which didn't cost you anything. But I think those are the moments which make you happiest. So yeah, I think if must talk in investment wise, it's always better to invest in people than money wise. And
yeah.
so let's
cool. Deep one, but nice one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for the nice conversation, and
thank you.
Yeah, good luck with the rest of the career.
Yeah, you too, of course.
Cool.
Bye. Well, see you in Tilburg.
Yeah.